Okay, we're going to look at odd and even functions today. Some people are confused as to what to do with these two rules. They're two very simple rules to follow with odd and even functions. So you're given a function, you could be given something like y equals x squared minus 3x, or you could be given something like f of x equals x squared minus 3x, or y equals x to the 4 plus 2x plus 1. You could be given any function of x, all right, and you could be asked, is it odd or even? Now, you will find it's either odd, even, or neither. It doesn't have to be odd or even. It can even be neither of those two, all right? So you just follow these two simple rules. So we have if f of minus x equals f of x, the function is even. If f of minus x is equal to minus f of x, the function is odd, all right? So let me show you some examples on how to apply those two rules. So let's move up to example 1. Okay? Right, example 1 says, show that f of x is equal to x squared plus 3 is an even function. Right? The first thing to do is to find what f of minus x is. So you've been shown how to do substitution in algebra, and we're going to be doing substitution. Okay? So we're going to substitute the minus x where the x is. Okay, and people are often confused with that. So just watch carefully. All right. So we're going to put minus x where the x is. And we're going to write minus x all squared. So your x is now a minus x. And you notice I put brackets around. Why? Because we have a power. Okay. So every time you substitute your minus x into an x, into your equation, wherever that is, put brackets around your minus x. All right, it makes it much easier to simplify. And of course, write the rest of the equation. So we've got plus 3. You can't substitute minus x into 3, just leave it where it is. That's a constant. Okay? All right, so minus x squared happens to be, I'll just do it on the side, minus x times minus x, which happens to be positive x squared. So this now becomes positive x squared, plus 3 is still there. We have now ended up with exactly what we started with. If you end up with exactly what you start with, that means that f of minus x is equal to f of x. So we're going to write here equals f of x. And that means, if you look at the rule above here, if f of minus x equals f of x, the function is even. It said, show that this function is an even function. We've shown it. And now we conclude. Therefore, f of x is an even function. And that's the end of that one. Let's do another example. Okay, example 2. So example 2 says, show that f of x equals x cubed minus x is an odd function. Now, for an odd function, you're not going to get exactly the same function in the end, of course. That's for an even function. But for an odd function, you should end up with minus f of x. That means that you should end up with the same terms but with a minus in front of each. So you should end up with this. Let me show you on the side here. Minus f of x happens to be minus, let's put brackets around the whole function, see? Minus x cubed minus x, and then expand it. You should end up with minus x cubed minus x plus x. So you should end up with this. If you end up with this, it's an odd function, okay? If you end up with this, it's an even function. If you end up with neither of these two, it's neither odd nor even. Okay, so the question's saying show that the function is odd. So we should end up with this. If you don't end up with this, you've done something wrong. Let's have a look. Again, we start off always the same way. We are substituting minus x into x. All right? So we're going to write minus x all cubed minus, again, bracket, minus x. All right, you see what I've done? So that minus is there because that was there already. And the x has to be substituted by minus x. So put brackets. So this whole thing is x, let's say that. And this whole thing is x cubed minus x. Okay? All right. And then minus x times minus x times minus x happens to be minus x cubed. And then minus x becomes plus x. Did we end up with minus f of x? Is it the same? Yes. So therefore we write is equal to minus f of x. And what does that tell you? According to the rule, it is odd. It's an odd function. Okay, so therefore you write, therefore f of x, can you see that? F of x is an odd function. You can abbreviate function as fn if you wish. Let's go to example 3. Example 3 says, let's go right to the end there. Is the function f of x equals x squared minus 2 odd or even? All right, well, let's have a look. First things first. F of minus x, let's do a substitution. Okay, so you've got x squared, so that becomes minus x all squared. Then you have minus 2. Okay, what's minus x times minus x? X squared. Minus 2 still there, not changed. Is that the same as that? Yes, it is. So that's equal to, f of minus x happens to be equal to f of x. Okay, and because it is the same, according to our rule, is it odd or even? Well, f of minus x equals f of x. There it is there, so it's even. All right? And therefore we conclude that therefore f of x is an even function. You can underline even if you wish, okay, because it's asking you, is it odd or even? All right, the setting out must be done this way, okay? Don't skip any line of substitution because you get marks for that. Okay, so for full marks, your setting out must be as I'm showing you. That's the minimum really that you can show for full marks. Don't show less than that because you won't get full marks. If it's worth more than 1 mark, you may not get the other mark. All right, let's go to example 4. Example 4 says, if f of x is equal to x cubed plus 1, is it an odd or even function? Okay, let's find out. So remember, if it's even, you're going to end up with that, exactly what you see, x cubed plus 1. But if it's odd, let's find out what odd will look like on the side. Odd will be minus that. And when you expand that, you get minus x cubed minus 1. So if we end up with this, it's going to be an odd function. If we end up with this, it's going to be an even function. Let's find out. Again, f of minus x, do the substitution, all right, is equal to minus x all cubed plus 1, all right? And then minus x times minus x times minus x happens to be minus x cubed plus 1. Okay, is this the same as this one? No, so it's not even. Is this the same as this one? No, so it's not odd. Therefore, f of x is neither odd nor even. Okay? So there's another one that's neither odd nor even. Example 5. Show that y equals x cubed plus 3x is an odd function. Now this one says y, so what? You still do the same thing, okay? Just let y equal f of x. Just add that at the start of your solution and then go ahead and find your f of minus x. So f of minus x, okay, is either going to be equal to this or it's going to be equal to, let's do that one on the side as well. So this minus f of x, which happens to be minus x cubed plus 3x, which happens to be minus x cubed minus 3x. All right, so if we get this as our result, it's odd. If we get this as our result, it's even. If we don't get either of those, it's neither odd nor even. But because they're saying show that it is an odd function, it will end up being an odd function. Okay? They will never ask you a question like this, show that it's an odd function, and you find it to be even or neither. That won't ever happen. Okay? So if you don't get this in the end, you've made a mistake. All right, so f of minus x, let's go ahead and substitute, which happens to be minus x all cubed plus, right, that's part of the question, so don't get confused with that minus x yet, all right? So plus, and then you put 3, bracket, the x becomes minus x, all right? Be very careful with the substitution. Use your brackets. Minus x times minus x times minus x, that's what minus x cubed is, happens to be minus x cubed. Plus 3 times minus x is equal to minus 3x. All right, so you can say plus 3 times minus x gives you a minus result, minus 3x. Okay, is that equal to this? No, it's not even. Is it equal to this? Yes, it is odd. You've actually proven that it's odd. So therefore, you can write is equal to minus f of x. You have to write this part. You must write that, okay? And then you conclude. Therefore, y equals, so you can just say the function of y is an odd function, okay? Because you've shown that f of minus x is equal to minus f of x. Let's go to example 6. Example 6 is a long function, but you still use the same method, okay? So we're going to find g of minus x, all right? Same thing, same rules apply. It's saying show that g of x is equal to x to the 8 plus 3x to the 4 minus 2x squared. Show it's an even function, okay? So let's find g of minus x, and when we've done that and done all our substitution and our simplifying, we should end up with exactly the same function because it's telling us it's even, all right? Let's have a look. So minus x to the 8 plus 3 minus x to the 4 minus 2 and then minus x squared. Okay. Now, you're going to know after doing a few of these, if you have if you have even powers, okay, they're going to be inevitably even functions, but you still have to show it, okay, by using your rules. So what's minus x to the 8? Well, that's going to be x to the 8, okay, because you have an even number of x's. So an even number of negatives is going to cancel out to be a positive. So x to the 8, and then plus 3 minus x to the 4. Again, you have an even number of negatives, cancels out to be a positive, so it's going to be x to the 4. Minus 2 times x squared is minus 2x squared. We in fact end up with exactly the same function, so we have to write that it's actually equal to g of x, and because g of minus x is equal to g of x, therefore g of x is an even function. Okay? Right, let's go to a simpler looking question where it says show that f of x is odd where f of x is equal to x. All right, again, f of minus x, put the minus x into there. You don't have to put brackets around because there's no powers, okay? F of minus x equals minus x, okay? So is that equal to f of x? No, it's not. Is it equal to minus f of x? Well, minus f of x is equal to minus that. Well, it is equal to. So it's equal to minus f of x. Therefore, f of x is an odd function. Okay? Let's do one more example. Okay, so we've got example 8. We have to prove that this function is an odd function. So if it's an odd function, prepare yourself on the side, put down that minus f of x is equal to minus all of that. So just do it nice and slow, one step at a time, okay? You'll find in mathematics, do everything step by step, try not to skip steps and you won't make mistakes as often. Okay, so we got minus 4x, and then we got minus x cubed, which happens to be plus x cubed. We should end up with this result to prove that it's an odd function. Okay, let's find out. So f of minus x is equal to 4 times minus x, right? Minus, and then we have minus x to the power 3. Okay, this becomes 4 times minus x is minus 4x, and then you got minus, okay, minus 1 times minus x cubed, or you can say minus x cubed, because this thing here will become minus x cubed, right? Found that in earlier examples, you saw that a few times. And so you got minus x cubed, which happens to be plus x cubed. Did we end up with that, the minus f of x? Yes, we did. So we need to write that down. That's equal to minus f of x. And then you say, therefore, f of x is an odd function. And that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any further questions about odd and even functions, please leave your question in the comments below. Thank you.